And the Storm Spirit doesn't quite pay off the same way. I think the off-lane Void Spirit's a lot better to flex with. We'll see what kind of combo they will have for Q and Masteros there with the Dawnbreaker on hand. Polaris, they go into the Grimstroke, so you've got Grimstroke Mars combination in lane, really easy setup. Spear, Inkswell coming on, works great in the arena as well, great confined space to get your control off. But again, into a Life Stealer, once Rage is up and running, it's not going to be as big of an issue. You will have to abuse the laning phase where Rage is likely not leveled up. We tend to see Life Stealers just opt to go for their passives into the ult. Rage coming on by level 7 or so. So it's a long time until you see spell immunity there. Motivate.Trust, they do have the Lion on hand for good control and burst, and they've got the Ember. So I think they've tied in the gaps that a Dawnbreaker support does bring. You have really solid control with Lion. You have a great Hex, Earth Spike coming through as well to kind of hold heroes down. And you do have Magical Burst. So that's something Dawnbreaker kind of lacks. Steady hold, because her spells aren't guaranteed stuns. Her damage output is nice, but it's not quite bursty, and the line does kind of cover those tracks quite well.
Certainly so. Polaris, 4th pick for them now. Maybe just another support pickup, unless they're going to run something like a Mars support or a Gyro support. Definitely still open to that possibility. Around 50 seconds reserve time left. By the way, John, I should mention, I did tweet it at Skem, CTM, right after that game, asking if he was going to get a new tattoo after, or if he was to win the grand finals tomorrow. He said, it doesn't matter if I win. I've already got a booking for a new tattoo next month. So there you go. In case anyone was wondering about Skem's tattoos, apparently next month we've got a new one. Can only guess what it's going to be.
Yeah, who knows? The guy always has something interesting to put on. It's starting to look really well designed, well painted on his skin. We'll see. If he wins, it's going to feel better. If not, well, it's still scheduled, so you can't really call it off. Still, the draft goes on here. Polaris do go into the Terrorblade, which is a really good response to Life Stealer. Especially once you hit your Scotty timing, right? So with a Scotty, you can just kite around the Life Stealer. Doesn't care for his rage. You're still going to be able to slow him down. Gap closing now onto the Terrorblade is going to be a bit of an issue for the Life Stealer. You do have Natural Infest with the Ember, and in a way, Motivate.Trust has some ways of dealing with the Terrorblade early on. Magic damage on Ember and Line is pretty good, especially the Finger. And that can be an issue for the Terrorblade. We'll see if he does opt for a BKB down line here for Natsumi. Not something we tend to see too much from Terrorblades early on. It's not a high priority item. So it's down to the rest of the team to protect him, and we'll see just how well they can get that job. But it's a stable win condition for Polaris. That does mean our Gyro is likely a support Gyrocopter, unless they do something weird and give it to Mac, but I don't really see that coming out. So it should just be a 5 Gyro, Grimstroke 4, and just down to see how effective they can make use of that Gyro. With the magic buildup, the control, it's not amazing, but Homing Missile is still steady enough to kind of lock in some heroes. And in the lane, Terrorblade Gyro does sound like it could get pretty aggressive early on.
Last pick up Void Spirit as well here, so could be an off-lane Void Spirit, I think, here for Masaros. It could also be an off-lane Dawnbreaker with a position 4 Void Spirit. As we know, Q does like to mix things up in that position 4 role, so it's very open, though I do believe Masaros will probably take that off-lane Void Spirit for himself. And that should mean that the mid-Ember is still there for Fearless. Polaris, it seems like Mars or Gyrocopter is going to be a support here. They could mix it up and run the mid-Gyro, run the off-lane Mars and the safe-lane Terrorblade, but that doesn't seem great, at least in my eyes. So I think they might just pick up, say, a mid-lane here and run the Gyro or the Mars support along with the Grimstroke. 10 seconds of reserve time left to try and think this one over. What do you want? It's going to be the DP. So the old-school Terrorblade DP combination. You and I have casted this so many times. In fact, we used to begrudgingly cast it back in the day because we casted it so many times in a row that it just got annoying after a while. But now, I mean, it's not really in meta anymore, John, so very excited to see it back again. Do you believe in the combo of the TB-DP in this current meta?
Yeah, we've seen it a couple of times, and the pushing pace, the early aggression you can get up, or the early damage output of Terrorblade is really strong. You can pressure tier 1s quick, especially the mid. Natsumi can just show up by, say, 10 to 12 minute mark, get pushing there with the Exorcism up, and clear out in the lane, start to apply more pressure, shut down more of the map for Motivate.Trust, and go from there. That's something that, Motivate.Trust, we talk about them a lot. That's something they kind of don't excel at. Early game is something that they know themselves. Uh, they don't really get running fast, and I think Polaris has the lineup to build on top of that. Mind you, Motivate.Trust plays really well when they lose lanes, so that might just play into what Motivate.Trust wants, because every time they win lanes, they somehow don't close it out. So maybe that's exactly what they want. We'll see if Polaris can keep the pressure from laning phase onwards and prevent Jackie from building up. I think for Motivate.Trust, the combination of the Void Spirit Dawnbreaker, as we talked about early in the draft, Mike, Dawnbreaker with some decent setup, Void Spirit Remnant in that case, you can actually chain stun well. You can get your damage off in lane. You can harass really nicely. So there's a lot of early pressure Natsumi has to watch out for, especially while Metamorphosis is down. Once that's down, Masaros and Q have a really clear shot at being aggressive and just looking for kill opportunities.
I mean, it seems like both drafts have such like strong mid-game timings here. I imagine a very slow start for both teams as we get into the game, but I feel like once you hit that 15 to 20 minute mark in this game, things are going to start to really explode between these two. Though, John, I will ask you before we get into this game one of these teams has to get knocked out after this best of 3. Who do you think has the superior draft going into game 1 of this matchup?
Ooh, I think just off draft alone, I'd have to lean towards Polaris. I think the win condition of Terrorblade's a lot stronger than Lifestealer. It takes a lot of time for a Lifestealer to hit the same item spikes as a Terrorblade does. You don't have a natural steroid to get you big and strong as well. And down the line, that's something the Terrorblade kind of covers with the Ags pickup, with a refresh. So there are lots of ways to play against that shortcoming of Metamorphosis, and I think Terrorblade's just easier to kind of build your foundation off. For Motivate.Trust, this lineup does require a mid-game spike, which is where they excel. You just kind of have to hit it, and it all boils down to, I think the biggest lane for them is really their off lane. Like Q and Masaros have to go off on a running start with the Dawnbreaker and Void Spirit. If they can get that done and put a dent in Natsumi's farm, and that's where the opening comes out for them.
Fair enough. I mean, it's sure to be a very exciting matchup between these two.
30 seconds to battle.
You've basically got the previous adroit here on the side of Polaris, and as time's gone on, they've looked stronger and stronger. They've made it to a very respectable position throughout the BTS Pro Series Season 8 now, through this lower bracket, and just one best of 3 away from being at that lower bracket final against SMG. But Motivate, I mean, they've won a couple of these themselves. They're not new to this. They'll be looking for their 3rd championship if they can get this victory going and somehow beat SMG tomorrow. They will be into another grand final against Boom. So I have to wait and see what happens, at least for this game number 1, as we may as well start with the mid lane here. Fearless on the Ember, of course, going to be against Mac on the DP. Got to give my props to Mac, John, by the way. I was tuning into the games last night, and man, the Mac Ember, just fantastic play from him in his previous series. This time around, he's in the DP against the Ember Spirit of Fearless, who's also known to be very, very good with these kind of heroes, particularly the Spirit Brothers. But do you give the advantage to one or the other here in this mid lane matchup?
It ends up being rather even, and you have ways of clearing out the creep wave from both sides. Fearless can kind of tank through some of the damage with a Flame Guard, but he does lose his creep clearing if he's not careful. Mac, for the most part, is hard to zone out. He's got the Spirit Siphon against a melee hero, so he'll be able to sustain himself. I think the key thing to watch out for is Fearless hitting his Orb Corrosion timing, or at least his level 6 spike. That's when we see Fearless himself play a lot more aggressive on the Ember. He looks for those side lane rotations, so that's around a 6-minute mark for most mids. And you can't have the same impact with a DP. You will have EXO up, maybe, if you want the value point, and that's the point where you push, but presence in fights is a lot stronger there for Fearless, so I have to watch his scaling into 6 and see what he does from there.
Okay. Well, it's down to the bot lane. You're going to see Boomy there with Nico, Mars, and the Grimstroke. Quite a powerful combination if you can line up the spear with the Ink Swap, because you're going to have Q on the Dawnbreaker and Jackie there on that Lifestealer. You mentioned earlier in the draft as well that Jackie shouldn't really be too concerned during this laning stage, especially once he does have the Rage up. And we just saw the first spear of the game just kind of being whiffed there onto Q, as even the Ink Swall's not really going to land in the end. Mind you, Q also missed the Starbreaker, so everyone kind of missing their spells here. But in this duo versus duo matchup, Are we expecting like an even trading lane? Do you think there is a point where maybe one side can get more aggressive than the other?
I think for the most part, it does lend itself to be even. Perhaps by, say, level 3, it feels a lot better for Polaris, as, again, Jackie on the lifesteal is likely not going to want to get into Rage. It doesn't do much for his farming, doesn't do much for his ability to do damage, so he will want to go for a more aggressive laning build, as we tend to see Jackie do. I am a bit surprised that Motivate.Trust break up the Dawnbreaker Void Spirit lane. I feel like that's a lot stronger. It's easier for you to land Starbreaker with a stun setup, and you don't have that here for a Lifestealer matchup. And you are still seeing Q do good work though, but not quite enough.
Spear out, Nico gonna try and punish him. They're going on to Boomy, they might just have the kill. Q, he'll eat a Fairy Fire. Nico, he'll keep the chase up. Salve is gonna be there. It'll be cancelled. Q, he'll try to Celestial Hammer, but it won't be enough as Nico has a massive spear in his hands. Eventually, they will secure first blood for the side of Polaris.
And that allows Nico to hit his level 3 spike as well. So he has level 2 spear, he's got the God's Rebuke ready, they've got both the Stroke of Fate and the Inkswell to kind of land onto Jackie. Jackie does actually opt for the value point in Rage, so he has a way of saving himself, but that is a long cooldown across each level. Duration's not great, so there are still big windows for Polaris to keep looking for that aggression in this lane.
Of course, last lane as well, John. Top lane, you're going to see Natsumi there on that Terrorblade, along with his position 5 Gyrocopter being played by CML. You're going to have Set Zero there on that line, along with Masaros, that off-lane Void Spirit. So position 5 Gyro is apparently a thing now, for CML at least. So, I guess it does kind of dominate the laning stage with Rocket Barrage. So I can't really doubt it. I don't know, how's this lane go, John?
I actually really like it. I think the Gyrocopter support is a role that does really well. You've got good damage coming through with Natsumi as well, and look at that.
Yeah,
just
speaking
ripped
of the
through
devil,
Set Zero.
They get the kill. Masaros, he's going to try and run with that Resonant Pulse. So much damage, though, flying in from Natsumi will force out the escape with the Resonant Pulse. In fact, no, that was the Dissimulate. The Resonant Pulse was the first shield. So there you go. Natsumi, it's just so much damage with the Metamorphosis and Masaros. It's very hard to fight into this matchup when you have got the Metamorphosis available on Natsumi. CML just going to chase him down again. I mean, just look at the damage. Masaros, he can't even get close right now. Is even with the Metamorphosis down, it feels like CML, just with the Rocket Barrage, is going to be such a nuisance.
He really is. And it's a bit of an issue for Motivate.Trust in holding off that pacing. Like Masaros, we've seen him play from behind multiple times. The Void Spirit is a hero that doesn't really care, at least. And you know, you hit level 6, you can still be aggressive. Likely level 7 is when you really start to see that aggression line up. But you're not slowing down Natsumi. Terrorblade's still hitting its farm beats. CML is getting some good EXP out from the lane as well. And he's already showing us just how valuable Gyrocopter's magic damage early on really is. He has higher move speed than Set Zero even without boots, so it's easy to chase down the line. Easier for you to just come in, get the damage off. Resonant Pulse does not block off the magic damage coming through from your Gyro support as well. So if he does manage to gap close, it can be a really risky spot for Masaros. And they've got really good lane control on Polaris' side. Get the pulse off, just keep farming up. As long as you slow down that level spikes and slow down the build up for Masaros, you're in a really good spot, and Natsumi just gets free farm in lane.
Nico, stack up the creeps down at the bot lane, just pull all of them away. Block the small camp while he's at it. Hell, he even blocks the large camp just to really make sure they can't fix the creep equilibrium. After Nico's completed this pull, and he's actually going to wait it out, it looks like. He won't drag it underneath the T1 tower. He's waiting for his creep wave. He doesn't really want to tank all these creeps, but in the end, he is going to let it go anyway. Salve out from Boomy. He does give up on the full pull. It won't matter though, because it's going to be a lot of golden XP going the way of the Mars. But now Jackie, very aggressive kind of position onto Boomy with the Starbreaker. It'll be enough. The heads up play there from Jackie to make the rotation in when he knows Nico cannot fight back.
We get the punishment onto that Grimstroke, and more importantly, Q manages to get the ward off from the triangle. There were some massive stacks built up by Polaris. They're going to be able to spot out when Polaris dips in to farm it, and maybe make a play to steal it away as well. So this sets up for maybe around the 9 to 10 minute mark when you might want to clear that out. And Polaris has to clear that out quicker, as there's always the potential for Motivate.Trust to sneak in and steal it away.
Mac, Boomy gonna be spotted. Fearless, he'll go for the chains out. A great hammer through from Q into the Starbreaker. Mac, though, with the Spirit Siphons alive, but Jackie, he's rotated in again. Very aggressive plays here from Jackie on the Lifestealer, but it's gonna pay off. They'll find Mac on the DP, and that's just not something I'd be expecting from a POS 1 Lifestealer this early on, but long behold, Jackie, he's getting involved.
He's being super aggressive. I think he understands that his slow is just so strong, well, especially since he's maxing it out first. So he's got Ghoul Frenzy up at level 4 now. That's a 20-25% slow. And it's just enough to line up to allow your Dawnbreaker to actually land a Starbreaker every single time. And that control is just massive when it does arrive.
Fearless mid lane, homing missile is going to land from CML, but there's going to be no follow-up to it. In fact, Fearless gets very lucky and finds a DD rune down in that bot rune spot as he's making the exit. But a 3-2 already, slight net worth lead for the side of Motivate. Keep in mind though, this whole time Natsumi has been freely farming up the Terrorblade and has made his way over to the jungle. So at this point, you expect his farm to escalate quite fast. And Jackie's still slightly ahead, but I do expect Natsumi to slowly take over that net worth lead.
Yeah, he does have a better time in the jungle, especially playing with illusions, playing with the metamorphosis. You do have more throughput compared to Lifestealer. I think the big issue is item timings down the line. Like, so Natsumi's going to sit back, build into Dragonlance, whereas Jackie's looking for that quick timing on the armlet, and that's when you can be online on Lifestealer. Maybe you wait for a Sange first, but normally you're ready to go just with the armlet up. And that added aggression from your POS 1 gives more presence for Motivate.Trust to take these early engagements, whereas for Natsumi, he's going to be dipping out. He wants to clear out the Ancients they've built out as well. And again, they have to get that done quickly because the ward is still there for Motivate.Trust. The sentry they dropped from Polaris' side doesn't actually spot the vision game of Motivate.Trust here.
A 1k net worth advantage, slowly increasing the way of Motivate. See what Jackie does to try and keep up here with Natsumi. I mean, Jackie, he's known for being a very, very fast and efficient kind of farming POS 1, which I suppose is what a POS 1 does, but you kind of get my point. He excels in being able to hit creeps faster than everyone else. This top lane, it's like CML on that POS 5 gyrocopter. Gonna be caught out. Be a nice pick up there for Fearless on the Ember. Motivate, with this kind of draft, you sort of expect them to make these really early rotations. And that's exactly what they're doing.
They just get the kills. They know at this point the Terrorblade's just playing in jungle, so they can easily pick off a solo gyrocopter. You can see Polaris kind of lining up bot though. They've got Jackie pinned down. He does have a rage, so he shouldn't be under too much of threat. And he does have the infest to bail out, but they're looking for that tower trade early with Natsumi down here as well.
Mac's going to show up now with the Spirit Siphons, and that slow's going to do some work, but in the end, the infest is there, and Jackie, he's a siege creep now. In fact, TP's coming down. Motivate, looks like they want to try and force a fight. They won't be in time to defend this tier 1 bottom tower, and I don't know if the fight's going to be really worth it. In the end, Jackie does pop out and starts farming creeps again as Nico going to move in, has the arena up. Here comes the ulti in from our Dawnbreaker Q. He's right in time. Nico, he'll have no chance to try and drop the arena. And Motivate, they're looking for more. They won't find anyone though.
They find the one kill they want. It makes their time there worthwhile. They still pick off a core. Instead of Polaris already took the objective. They don't lose any of their bigger cores, and Natsumi can just dip back into the triangle. Still has that gigantic ancient stack to clear out. Not sure when he's going to be ready for it. But for Motivate.Trust, they have also gotten space out from Masaros. This Void Spirit is hitting its spikes early on. You see Masaros queuing up for the Sanjin Kai as we tend to see from him. He is starting to play aggressively.
Oh, that's a great jump in from Masaros. He's found CML, but he's been silenced up, so he can't really capitalize. Meanwhile, in the mid lane, though, they've got an even better target. They've got Mac, but the Siphons are flying through. A nice remnant away from Fearless to not get caught out by the spear. Q, he's going to survive as well. So in the end, 5 heroes in the mid lane from both sides, but nobody dies.
Have some quick thinking out from Boomy, getting the soul bind off for the double spirit siphon, and Mac just would not die. He goes back to full HP. They commit finger and Motivate.Trust, don't find the kill, You have to watch yourself up against that Death Prophet. Her sustain is pretty ridiculous. And that synergy is there with Grimstro. So just having Boomy around does ensure that no further pressure can come out onto the mid. Tier 1 still stands. But you can see Motivate. They're still running all across the map. Fearless is farming the top jungle. They've still got bot lane held by Jackie. He does have his armlet working onto the Sanj. And that should be the point where he does start to feel more comfy putting his body forward. And that's still the key difference with Lifestealer and Terrorblade. The Lifestealer is just online quicker with some quick items up.
Nico trying to stop Fearless from stealing his farm. Fearless in the end going to get a couple small creeps, but nothing to write home about. Just being very annoying on that Ember. There's something that goes back to the old days of Motivate as well, right? Like we used to talk to Masaros and Fearless, and they used to explain how Fearless was more of an off lane than say Masaros, who does take more farm priority than the mid lane does in this side of Motivate. So you constantly see Fearless rotating and making space, while Jackie and Masaros, they're across the map farming creeps. Which is a very interesting kind of chemistry between these three core players, but that seems to be what works best for Motivate.
Yeah, just allows him to hit these farming spikes, and you can see that aggression here already. Fearless smoked up. Knack.
Big pick off, they can get it. Guardian's in. Solar Guardian, Celestial Hammer out, and they've got the kill. It's just such a powerful tool, right, John? Like you've got this Solar Guardian, this global ability from the Dawnbreaker to just come in and follow up with the Starbreaker. It's just feels impossible to get away from.
Middle tower is under attack.
It really is, and I'm surprised Polaris didn't ban out the Dawnbreaker when they saw the Silencer banned out. Like that's the biggest counterplay you have. There's no way to interrupt her when she's trying to jump into a fight, and that always means Motivate.Trust will have the numbers when you get that initiation. They can line up for mid now, go for that push. We talked about Polaris having quick timings with Terrorblade DP. They haven't made a move on that mid themselves. It's still at full HP on Motivate.Trust. They're going to lose out on some map space with the added control the Radiant side has now, as their top jungle is completely forfeit. And they still have their triangle. They did clear out the Ancients with Natsumi. So the gold is flowing through for the Terrorblade slowly but surely, and he is rushing a BKB. So it does look like Natsumi understands he has to take more activity on the map. He has to join his team when Metamorphosis is up. The BKB will allow that. Shouldn't take too long to farm up as well.
Set 0. Rocket Barrage out. CML with the homing missile. Gonna lock him down, and in the end, CML able to secure the kill onto Set 0. It's a fun fact about Polaris that I think most of the crowd already kind of knows about, but this team, pretty much ex-Adroit back in the day. You've got to admit, these players, they looked so good when they were together as a team, and it's really nice to see them back, because you're starting to see the brilliance that was Adroit back in the day.
Yeah, it's very reminiscent of how they used to play. We talked about it in the first few games we saw them. They were going back to drafts they used to run as Adroit, even if they weren't in meta, and it has paid off. Masteros, though,
Will get caught. Nice Yules out from Nico into the arena and the spear, and that should be enough. Another fantastic rotation out from Polaris. Motivate, it seems as though they have reserved themselves to farming for now, so not able to really assist Masaros.
yeah, they get a good kill on Polaris' side. You know, start to punish that greed you were talking about in the offlane there, Mike. But that does open up an opportunity for Motivate. They know arena's down. They can look for an opportunity themselves.
Yeah, Jackie gonna rush forward onto Mac. Yeah, it's not gonna amount to much though. Mac able to just kind of walk away. Now, they could still try, but it does seem like oh, maybe they do. Chains are out. Jackie's gonna rush forward. Mac, he'll be targeted. Hex out from Set 0, and there's your Solar Guardian to fly through. It'll only connect onto Nick on the backside. In fact, they're going to try and turn this. Polaris, can you do it? Not quite. They've got to run ASAP as CML. He's going to drop. He'll be the second, and in fact, there'll be a third. Boomy, I doubt he gets away from this. Masteros has got him with the Dissimulate. In fact, Q will take the kill with the Celestial Hammer. And it looked kind of rough there for a second for Motivate, but in the end, Polaris, they just didn't have the numbers. And unfortunately for Polaris, they might even lose one more. There's Nico. He's going to try and run. Set 0 trying to get in range for that Hex, and he might just barely be able to get there. Spear attempt. No, it's not going to work out. Hex is there. Cancel the TP off. And that'll be another kill to go the way of Motivate.Trust.
They're really racking up that aggression, and I love how they're playing with that Dawnbreaker. They're just so willing to put their bodies forward. They don't care about how many heroes Polaris has on hand, as long as they get the jump in with their highly mobile front line, with either the Void Spirit or the Ember Spirit up in front first. It just gives such a big opportunity for the Solar Guardian to really be at play, and they're smoked up again.
Mac. Oh, that's...
no.
Normally.
So let's have a bit of a player perspective right here. Max is just having a look, hitting some creeps. Q, not really too big of a deal. Max caught claiming lag. But there's your problem, John. On the left side, in that tree line there, you can see a very scary lion coming out of the jungle. Excuse the pun. And right behind him is going to be Masaros. So I don't know if he can survive this. I think if they get the Hex off, Mac is probably just as good as dead.
Yeah, they've got the finger in set 0. They've been very patient with that spell on their line. They're going to have enough if they get that jump in. Mac, he doesn't have a Yules. Doesn't have any sort of self-protection outside of Spirit Siphon. Does have 4 of those up, at least, but probably not enough. The rest of his team's also pretty far out. And even if they TP in, I don't really know what they can do. So we'll see, Mac.
What he can do, Hex out, Spirit Vessel's there, he's just got no time. There is absolutely 0 time to try and respond. Set 0 also kind of lucky with having the keen optics, so he has that little bit of bonus cast range that can make all the difference.
And they even hold on to the finger. Set 0 doesn't even pop it. Still has no charges on his Finger of Death kills as well. And we're 17 minutes in, but it doesn't matter. He's just there with the Hex, he's there with the control. And they have been just on point with the aggression here on Motivate.Trust. For Polaris, it's still about building up on their Terrorblade. Natsumi, BKB, 400 gold away. Maybe then you can show up, get your damage off of the TV with Metamorphosis. You have to be careful about giving too much space towards the Radiant side here.
I mean, what do you do now if you're Polaris? Like, they're kind of just trapped on their own side of the map. And I say their own side, but they're behind their T2 towers right now. And Nico... he'll be around to try and make sure that top lane does remain defended and pushed out. Meanwhile, the rest of Polaris are going to start to move in through the triangle and try to secure some more farm on Natsumi. Even though he has that bit of protection there with the Dragon Lance and is still working on towards that BKB, he's probably going to be lacking a bit of damage. However, top lane, they make the jump in onto Nico. They should have the Mars. Meanwhile, mid lane, Mac does end up dropping Nico. He does finally go down as Masaros now, he needs an escape plan. Silence is there, but CML will not have the follow-up. In fact, they're coming in for more. Masaros, he has not had his fill yet. Jackie, he'll join the fray. Natsumi, he is around to try and help out, but it might be too late. They'll drop the call down. They'll pop the metal, they'll pop the BKB, but none of it matters if Motivate just run. And that they will, John. In fact, never mind, they're going right back in. After that BKB is gone, chain up Natsumi, they just taunt him up and get the kill.
Oh boy, that's not a good look for Polaris. That's the fresh BKB and Natsumi. That's why he shows up with a meta. His damage output's just not enough. They lose control, they don't manage to get the arena the way they want, and that's going to open up the top tier 2 push for Motivate.Trust. Polaris falling behind now, 15-5, 20 minutes in, lose their top tier 2, 8k lead for Motivate.Trust. Outpost goes the way of Motivate.Trust as well. Opens up the Roshan here. And for Polaris, you asked me a while ago, Mike, what do they have to do? It's still about building up in the Terrorblade. Maybe if you hit this blink timing on Nico, it starts to feel better. But that's still a way off. Like he was forced to buy back. And that means he has to wait for another 1,000 gold to get the blink combination with the arena. That's their only good initiation here.
There's just no escape. Like, when Motivate have this kind of advantage going, it's very hard to have any space to the map. And Polaris right now are experiencing that the hard way. You look at that net worth graph, Jackie right at the top where he usually is. Onto that Eye of Skadi very soon. And let me tell you, John, when you've got that Eye of Skadi, as well as the passive slow he already has, it becomes a very painful experience to try and get away from this lifesteal.
It really does. And I think the one thing that Motivate.Trust has is a bit of a factor as well. You never feel safe even if you see one hero, because you don't know if someone's infested inside. You don't know if Solar Guardian is up. So what turns into a one-person rotation turns into 3 heroes if you're not careful. And it just allows so much more mobility out from Motivate.Trust. Polaris, they don't have that same kind of presence. They don't have the same kind of initiation coming through. They need to rely on a blink coming out from Nico. They need to rely on farm feeding into Natsumi. He's doing a good job of avoiding everything. At least he's playing in the triangle, undetected from the side of Motivate.Trust. So he's staying safe and getting steady farm. It's working towards that Scotty. Still a ways off for our Terrorblade. But if Natsumi can farm that up, if he can hit that Scotty timing, and that's where the back and forth between Terrorblade and Lifestealer feels a lot better for Terrorblade. You've got the range, you've got the slow. You can try to kite around that Lifestealer, but it's also an issue if the Spirit Bird is jumping you as well.
It's certainly a very scary predicament, at least for Polaris is now. Speaking of those Spirit Brothers, Fearless is going to be there with Set Zero. Chains are out, Solar Guardian through, and he just can't do anything. In fact, maybe he can. He'll BKB in time and just try to TP out. Boy, was that a close call, Natsumi. He waited for the literal last millisecond before that Solar Guardian came through for the stun. Polaris yet to find their footing in this game one. 7k net worth behind. And Motivate.Trust, they're going to rush for the Roshan. They know that Polaris can't really contest them right now.
Yeah, they can't jump into the Roche. They still need an initiation tool. They do have the blink on Nico, but they don't have information on Roche. They don't have wards. The vision game's not quite there, and that should give Motivate.Trust a nice second life to play with. How do you deal with this? Right? Like, how do you deal with all the sustained solar recharging guilds, with the durability you have with a Lifestealer up front, with the mobility a Void Spirit and an Ember Spirit has? You just don't have the best hold from Polaris. Like, there's stuns, it's homing missile, it's a silence from Death Prophet, it's a delayed stun from Inkswell, it's a unreliable stun with a spear setup. Like, they just don't have a good way of locking all of these highly mobile heroes down in these engagements.
Another smoke out as well, John. Motivate. Gonna rush through that Radiant jungle. Oh, they might find Natsumi. This is the best target they could ask for. And look at that. Set Zero, he's right in with the blink out. Natsumi was farming underneath an Observer Ward the whole time. What do you do? Like, you're farming in the right spot. Natsumi, he's not in the incorrect position. But Motivate, they are just playing way too fast. And Polaris, it just seems like they can't keep up with the pacing.
They really can't. And the farm timings we were talking about, it's coming out faster from Motivate.Trust. Like, Jackie's almost at that. Scotty, they catch Nico as well.
Solar Guardian though, John. It seems like Set Zero was the one who got caught out, but it was all a bait. Arena committed, but it means nothing, as the Solar Guardian's just going to make it so Set Zero just doesn't die.
It's too much. It's like the sustain means you can't jump even the supports. They just have the numbers. They come in. Ember Spirit can come in from a mile away as well with a good Remnant. And that's going to be worse once the Ags is up in Fearless. So there's just a lot of items still lined up for Motivate.Trust to keep that aggression going. For Polaris, the best you can hope for is to have Natsumi hit perhaps a Daedalus timing after this, after all these items are up. Just go straight for the Daedalus, get the damage up with a Scotty, and hope that's enough. It's so much farm, and there's just not enough room to get that going on the TB.
I mean, where do you find that gold right now if you're Natsumi? It's just, he's 2k behind Jackie, which doesn't seem that bad, but that's a Terrorblade versus a Lifestealer. And it's not like Jackie has a farming tool. He went Armlet SNY. It's just...
Radiant's top tower is under attack.
It's just really bad news if you're Polaris right now. Speaking of, well, Jackie, he thought about running in, but he wouldn't have been able to close the gap anyway, I don't think.
Yeah, it's I don't know, it's like on a core-to-core matchup, again, towards the late game, it should feel good for the Terrorblade, but without items, it doesn't feel good, just because you're not at farm parity. A big issue for Polaris is they missed their push window with the EXO. Like, they only found bot tier 1, they never took the mid tier 1, and they haven't been able to really utilize the bot jungle to the fullest extent, and they're just getting run down.
Chains out, Masaros, he's got the follow-up. And keep in mind, John, Masaros, he's got the Aghanim Scepter up now. So, even more control for the side of Motivate. And you just look at them. They're just TPing right down bot. They saw Natsumi for a second. And they want that kill. Natsumi, he's got a TP. He might have to commit it ASAP. I mean, he's trying to bait with the illusion. Does he make it out? Set Zero, how good are you at just predicting positions? He won't even go for the prediction. In the meantime, though, Jackie just shreds past the mid-tier 3 tower. By himself, it's just gone.
Yeah, I like what Jackie did. He knew the siege creep was up. He knew that as long as he tanks that tower hits, they have nothing to stop him. He still has Aegis up. Very tanky on life steal at this point with the Scotty up and running and the SNY. And Polaris they're just kind of stuck. I feel like they can look for plays now. They've had this blink up on Nico for a while. They just need to find a nice soft target to blink spear with a Yule's combo and just try to force a fight that way. But even then, if you jump someone, Solar Guardian comes in, you can't kill them.
Well, spear back is going to be nice. They've got the Metamorphosis, they've got the Aegis down, but now Masteros, he's jumped in. CML's gone. In fact, they almost blew up Nico. Mac, he's going to force the BKB out and try to fight, but look at Jackie just slowing him down. They might still find Q, but not quite. Q's fine to right on. In fact, now the turnaround is there. 8th Remnants off the mark, right on top of Mac. But where does he go now? He will, in fact, get away. Is in fact Nico. He's dropping quite low. Fearless able to secure the kill. Back on CML. They get another. Natsumi, he's going to try and fight. Jackie's just going to run right past. Great 8th Remnant in from Masteros, and Natsumi, he's going to be okay for... Oh, boy. He sunders Mac to try and survive. That's still your position 2 Death Prophet dying. I mean, it's a decent sunder, but it's like you still lost a very valuable kind of chess piece here if you're Polaris.
Yeah, and just opens up for the rest of the push coming through from Motivate. They take the mid melee, probably going to take this range as well. They don't have counter fight in them without Exo out, without Arena up. And that just means Motivate.Trust gets to back off. They could wait for next Roshan if they want to. They can take their time. They did lose out on Fearless's Ags buildup. At least they're going to miss one part on the Ember Ags because he lost his courier for 2 minutes. So you don't have to worry about the highly mobile Ember Spirit for at least 2 minutes. But still going to come out at a really good point. For Polaris now, I'm trying to think of an approach they can take. Like the Scotty timing for the Terrorblade is still big. It's just a matter of getting your team fight lined up. We've seen defensive arenas come out from Nico. He needs to be offensive. He needs to jump one of the Spirit Brothers. They don't have protection. Blink, Yule's Arena, Spear, kill off Fearless or Masteros. Maybe you can clean up afterwards.
Jackie, he'll rage through the homing missile. Fearless going to move in with a Slider Fist, but silences are going to be out. Not that they can really punish him anyways. He has the Haste Rune active. And Motivate, they'll just keep going. I don't think there's too much to be afraid of for them. Especially while that Metamorphosis is down for another 15 seconds. There's just no chance of fighting back if you're Polaris. Motivate, they won't cut it too short. They'll eventually back out. Because they are lacking Q there anyway, but you know, he has Solar Guardian. He can be there at any time. But they won't try to force the high ground too far.
Yeah. I don't think they're under any pressure here in Motivate.Trust with an 18k lead. They've got the Ags running as well in Q, so it's that same build-up we talked about from draft. Ags rush, Solar Guardian's a lot stronger, channel time's down, and the duration's up, so you have so much more presence up there as well. The evasion just breaks a lot of how Polaris wants to fight. They rely so much on the physical damage output of Natsumi that when you just pop Solar Guardian, it's gone. You just don't have that presence. And it's becoming so hard to see how Polaris comes back in. The key thing there, Mike, is, again, pressure on Nico to land the arena, to hold down one of the Spirit Brothers, and hope that the Solar Guardian doesn't completely screw over your entire game plan in that fight.
I mean, the problem is, John, there's an Aghanim Scepter up on Q, so it's like, it's nice to get the lockdown, but he's going to have the evasion, he's going to have the heal coming up from the Solar Guardian. I mean, maybe that is literally their only option now, but boy, it's a rough one. As long as Q has that Solar Guardian, it's just so tough to imagine anyone actually dying. On the brighter side, though, Jonathan, Ink Portrait or Dark Portrait's now up on Boomy. So maybe if you could take the Lifestealer illusion, maybe that'll be enough. Mid lane.
Could be.
There's your arena down, set 0. He's going to be healed all the way back up by Jackie, but Natsumi's in. He'll get the kill. Q, he'll eventually make it. with the Solar Guardian, but the chase is going to be on here from Mac. Perhaps this is the opening they needed, as they'll find 2 kills, but Masaros, he's going to jump back in. He's found CML on the gyrocopter, but can he find himself out? He's been silenced like 3 different ways, and eventually he is going to drop, while Jackie in the backside does at least kill off Nico. But it certainly was a very favorable trade the way of Polaris. And as long as they don't lose any kind of racks out of this, they should be quite happy with that team fight.
They finally get the punishment they want. They do lose out in the dieback on their Mars, so the high ground's kind of open here, and you don't have much time left in that metamorphosis.
Jackie really trying to rush forward onto Natsumi, but can't quite get in range to actually get a couple hits off. You're seeing that little dark portrait there of the Lifestealer. It's doing some decent damage. It's nothing really to write home about. It's a bit unfortunate there for Boomy, but it's something. Like, it feels like you need as much damage as you can get right now for Polaris. So any little bit does kind of help.
It certainly does. Issues still lie here for Polaris. So as the Roshan is being taken by Motivate.Trust, Rosh number 2 with the Ag Shard. And they still don't have vision. They do get the scan out, but they're not going to be able to run here in time. And this should enable Motivate.Trust to reapproach the high ground, take out one more set of racks. They hand the shard over to Fearless. So he's got the remnants doing some fire damage as well, some AoE burn damage. And that just gives him so much more presence. He even gets more spirits when he finds kills. So more uptime for him to be mobile. And Polaris has to play their defense perfectly as we saw last time.
Well, they found Boomy. That'll be your Grimstroke gone. Jackie just rips right through him. It's a 21k net worth lead here for Motivate.Trust. I mean, now with the Grimstroke down for 40 seconds, you should comfortably be able to take the bot racks. And well, there's the pizza out. Sending a message. There's your 8th remnant. Jackie, he'll get right to work, and Mac will eat all the 4-star. It doesn't get him all the way through the Ancient. His own Ancient works against him.
Oh, Masaros. He's got the dig on. He's just driving by. He's feeling confident. Just looking for the kills. They're closing out. 2 racks down. Polaris, they're not even able to get their full teamfight defense out. And Jackie's just going to go for mega creeps. Drops a pizza party again. Fortify is there. But I don't see this push stopping from Motivate.Trust. Even with Jackie up front, he's got the Aegis anyway. Doesn't really care.
They're going to jump in. Spear? No, the Rage is there in time, Nico. They're going to pop the finger out. Masaros, he'll keep moving in from the side, but might need an exit himself. Nico, he'll keep rushing forward onto Jackie, but Jackie, he just wants to deal with that Dark Portrait for now. Meanwhile, Fearless is going to move in now with the Remnants. Who's he going on? Right onto Nick on the backside. And there's your Solar Guardian out. Great positioning from Q. That's great area denial from our Dawnbreaker, and they call it. They have had enough. What a one-sided game here for Motivate.Trust. And boy, oh boy, Polaris, they're going to have to go right back to the drawing board after this game 1 and figure out what happened. As Jackie drops the 99. He's too cool even for the GG, John.
Yep, too cool to GG out, and Motivate.Trust have a really smooth game. They enable the Dawnbreaker pick, and it's pretty telegraphed. Like, they ban out Silencer. That should just mean a counter ban of Dawnbreaker, and if Polaris, allow that through, it's hard to play against. Like, it's only really counteracted by that one hero when you think about it. And Motivate.Trust managed to make use of it. They had a highly mobile lineup with the off lane. Masaro's Void Spirit coming through. Fearless had a great time in mid. For Polaris' part, they couldn't hit their push timings. We talked about DP and Terrorblade tying up for a really quick push. They took the bot tier 1 tying out with Motivate.Trust's timing on the tier 1 top. They couldn't really do anything afterwards, and that was the major issue. If you can't push with a DP draft, you're missing out on a lot of its potential and a lot of its map control it provides you. And Motivate.Trust just abuse it. They had a great time for Jackie. 8-0 for Jackie, 7-0 for Fearless. Perfect games for both of them. We'll have to see if Polaris can shake that off in game number 2.
You're not going to do my boy Masaros like that. He went 14-2-9, John. I know it's not a perfect score.
Out of 0.
All right, fine. But it's still 14-2-9. I think that means something. We are going to head to a short break. Right after that break, we are going to be back with Game 2 of Motivate.Trust Gaming versus Polaris Esports. We'll see you then.